The Sports Talk band is off to a rough start tonight, but we will make up for it.
The band is drunk.
I guess they started the weekend early.
They got drunk because they are up at Augusta or something like that.
I don't know. I guess they had too many pimento cheese sandwiches or something. They're upset because Pro's not here tonight.
Dilly.
No. We
can't say that.
We carry our signal carries into Augusta National. I don't want that to be heard over the azaleas and the hedges.
The fine folks at KSX might get in trouble.
Yeah, we would. We certainly would. All right, let's get off to a less than smooth start. Computer, thank you very much. Welcome into Sports Talk on a Friday night. Phil Kornblut and Will Pelagic. Professor Tom Hayes is off tonight. And of course, this is the Friday of the Masters. Things are going full blazes in Augusta. Don Williams will join us in a little bit from Augusta to give us the take from his walk around Augusta National today. But to update things for you, it is Patrick Reed, the Augusta College standout who knows the area extremely well. He's from Augusta. He leads right now at 7 under par. He is through 12 holes today, 4 under par on his round. Mark Leishman is at 5 under par. He's through 14 holes, 3 under for his round. And then in the clubhouse at 4 under par, Rory McIlroy with a 71 and Jordan Spieth, who had a 74 today. So they are tied in the clubhouse at 4 under par. Dustin Johnson, good day for him. He's very much in the hunt, a 68 today, leaves him at 3 under par. Henrik Stenson on the course at 3 under through 13. Bubba Watson is 3 under through 13. And Charlie Hoffman is 3 under through 12 holes today. Tony Finau is 2 under, had a 74 today. Ricky Fowler is 72. He's at 2 under. Luis Oosthuizen, a 71. He's at 2 under. Justin Rose is 70. He is at -2. And Justin Thomas, who I think just chipped in a little while ago for a birdie, he's at 2 under through 14, 4 under on the day.
You know, it's weird. I hate to make this cross-sport corollary, but since it's so recent in our minds, the one thing that we were talking about with the NCAA men's basketball tournament is kind of rearing its ugly head here at Augusta. And the one thing that we've heard from not only Don Williams, who's there, but George Bryan and other people who, if you've been watching the coverage, the one thing that they all say is that experience at Augusta, the more you play Augusta, the more comfortable that you are when you play it. That's the one thing that makes this major so unique, is the fact that the venue doesn't change. And yes, depending on when you play, you get the luck of the draw, whether or not you get the wind, whether or not it's range, maybe have softer greens. And that'll be something that the guys will have to contend to over the weekend. And, you know, obviously the way things go at Augusta, you kind of have to have a little bit of luck alongside, obviously, the local knowledge.
You know what? This is a big story that's going to go away here soon, but Sergio Garcia is 16 over par, 13 over, through 13 today. He's 7 over par on his round today. He was, of course, 9 over yesterday with the 81. We all remember what happened at 15. So 16 over par. So that makes him dead last among the pros.
Wow.
The only thing that's saving him from being dead last in the field is an amateur.
2 amateurs, actually.
So he is dead last. Has that ever happened where a champion one year finished dead last among the pros the next year? I'm sure somebody will look that up and bring that up, but that's just to go from where he was to where he is at the Masters is incredible.
It wasn't such a year-to-year drop-off, but I know it reminds me kind of what happened to David Duval after, you know, he won his major and then kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And there were a lot of different things that happened not only in his personal life, but in his career that led to that downfall. But, I mean, you have to think that 13 on 15 had to not only mess with his head. He had a great attitude about it yesterday, but it has not translated into a bounce back. It's made it even worse.
All right, some other scores of golfers of note to us. Matt Kuchar, 75 -1. Russell Henley, 72, 1 over. Kyle Stanley on the course on 17 is +2. Jason Day on 14 is +2. Kevin Kisner, 75, +3. Martin Keimer is +3 on the 15th. Adam Scott, a 73, he's +4. Tiger Woods, he is +4 as he plays the 15th. He's had a really bad first side. His first 9, he was really all over the place, not making any putts, not his approaches to the green. He was overhitting everything. I don't know if he's too ramped up or just what, but he's on 15. He's 4 over. Right now, the cut is 5 over par. So as long as that doesn't move, he's okay. Same thing with Phil Mickelson, who went from a 70 to a 79 today, 7 over. Wesley Bryan, a 78.
Yeah.
He's at +8, will not make the weekend. Same with Clemson amateur Doc Redman is +8. He still has 4 holes to play, so he could, if he got hot and birdied in, he could make it, but it's probably not going to happen. He's +8. And I mentioned that Sergio Garcia +16.
Feel bad for Doc, because not only did he have a front seat to that Sergio mess, but it's weird when you kind of have that you want to kind of soak it in and possibly maybe even make the weekend. Maybe you be the low amateur and you get invited into Butler Cabin with those guys at the end of the weekend. That would have been something to be certainly part of. But right now, it's just not working for him. Although, as it sits right now, he's 4 behind who the low amateur is. A guy who's tied for 40th, Doug Gim, is at 4 over. He is the low amateur right now on the course.
All right, we'll get more from Don coming up a little bit later on, as he'll share his thoughts about his day around Augusta National. Day 2 of the Masters. Going to be a great weekend, no question about it.
If they can get some golf in tomorrow.
Well, that's true. Yeah, hopefully the weather will not be too bad. Speaking of weather, Clemson, Notre Dame today, they were frozen out because of the wind chill up in South Bend. So they will play, was it 1 game tomorrow and 2 on Sunday?
One tomorrow, 2 on Sunday. And it's weird the way things work with the metal bats. It's harder to swing those bats in the very cold wind chill, especially if you get one in on your hands. That thing stings, man.
No question about it. USC and Kentucky set to go off tonight at 6:30 in Lexington. The Gamecocks 17-12, 4-5 in the league. Kentucky still ranked number 9. They are 20-9, 3-6 in the league. Adam Hill 3-2, 3.58 ERA, going to the mound for the Gamecocks. 53 strikeouts in 32 2/3 innings against only 16 walks. He has been outstanding. Sean Jelly, the junior rider, the big guy, right-hander, the big guy's, 6'11"? Big kid, 4-2, 3.32 ERA, 42 strikeouts in 43 1/3 innings and only 9 walks.
If South Carolina is going to win this series, Corn, they need to win Friday night's game, because anytime you don't take advantage of an Adam Hill start, you are putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And South Carolina's offense is just not at the level right now, or at the confidence level right now, against quality competition to be able to bank on wins on Saturday and Sunday. You need to get a win behind your ace. Scratch across whatever you absolutely need to get that win Friday, and then maybe run into a couple over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so coming up, we'll hear from Don Williams. Of course, we'll keep you up to date on baseball. Georgia and Vanderbilt are playing as we speak in Nashville. They started that series last night, and Vandy is up on Georgia in the bottom of the 6th, 5-2. George Bryan will join us with more from Augusta National, from following his son around today. Monty Dutton will be here, the full Monty on NASCAR. NASCAR back in action after taking last weekend off. They're at Texas Motor Speedway, and they are into qualifying as we speak. And we'll talk about everything happening with that and with other things coming out of the garage this weekend at Texas with Monty Dutton. Clemson practicing today. It's a big weekend up at Clemson with the coaches clinic and practice, and we'll hear from, I think, the coordinators, Venables and Jeff Scott.
Yes.
Because of the coaches clinic, Dabo's not going to be available to the media, so we'll bring you what we get when we get it here on the program. If you want to join us, 800-956-7266. That's the phone number. Take your phone calls here as well. We'll be right back.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, welcome back to Sports Talk, everybody. 800-956-7266. If you're watching us on Periscope, you can communicate with us there as well, comment or question. We've got somebody watching us over in Great Britain, I think, who has fired off a message to us.
Basically said, basically promoting our Periscope.
We appreciate that. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, it's at SportsTalkSC. You can pick up our Periscope on our Twitter timeline. You can go to our website, SportsTalkSC, and click on it there. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason, I suggest you go to the TuneIn app. Hopefully you've downloaded the TuneIn app to your smartphone. You can pick up stations all over the country. You can pick up many of our stations here in South Carolina. Of course, not to play favorites, but our Columbia affiliate, The Point, does not preempt us. And a lot of our stations do various forms of play-by-play or other coaches' shows, things of that nature, and they knock us off the air from time to time. The Point does not. That's why I suggest if you want to find us that way, if you need to find us that way and you want to find us, that is what I would do.
I have the Carolina lineup if you want it, Corn.
Lay it on us.
Jacob Olsen will lead off for them as they take on number 9 Kentucky. He'll play right field. LT Tolbert playing short, batting second. Jonah Bride at second base, hitting third. The first baseman, Matt Williams, hits in the cleanup spot. Justin Rowe back in the lineup after he was off for the Tuesday game against North Carolina. Did pinch hit, but was injured over the weekend. He will bat fifth and play third. Carlos Cortez playing left field, hitting sixth. Riley Hogan, the DH, hitting seventh. Chris Cullen back behind the plate, catching and batting eighth. Center fielder Danny Blair hits ninth. The pitcher is Adam Hill. One note also for South Carolina, the two men who were probably one of the most principal parts of their lineup, Madison Stokes, TJ Hopkins, traveled, dressed, but not in the lineup. Their availability, again, I'm sure will be determined by Mark Kingston as the game warrants.
Yeah, this has been a tough year for injuries for South Carolina, no question about it. They've had to change the lineup so much. They've got guys playing in places that you never would have thought. You look at their media game release, and almost every position has two players listed.
Right.
Because guys are hurt. You don't know who's going to be available. It's like a football depth chart. Or.
Yeah.
And they're having to play a lot of guys. Danny Blair, for example, getting a lot of playing time because of the injuries. Tolbert's moved all over the place. Stokes has been in and out. If they could get a healthy lineup and a settled lineup, they might have a chance to do some damage here moving forward.
Guy we haven't mentioned, Noah Campbell, is another guy who I think with his injury, that was kind of the one that really kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because first, I believe the way it was is that Stokes kind of had his injury, then Hopkins, and then Campbell was kind of the last one to get hurt. And he is somebody who, basically was a day one player as a freshman for South Carolina. And, he is that table setter at the top of the lineup. They really didn't have a position for him at the beginning of the year, so he was DHing a lot. And after the injuries, they got him some time in the field. But, of course, then he had his own ailment. And I think that the real bad part about this is that it really doesn't give us a complete look on the way Mark Kingston wants to manage, because it kind of feels like he's managing with one hand tied behind his back. And I think that's really been part of the reason why this fan base is kind of called into question some of his strategy. I think a lot of it is just because of the fact that he didn't. This is not the team that he built, and I think I almost equate it to what happened with Will Muschamp's football team. And granted, Will Muschamp made chicken salad out of chicken, made 9 wins. I mean, that's something that obviously I would say is one of the best coaching jobs in the SEC when it comes to how doing more with less in the football sense. But right now, Mark Kingston's having trouble trying to do the same.
Yeah, no question. Not having a full deck to play with in a first year of trying to build your program is not a good thing. But you know what? You got to roll with the punches and play the hand that you have, and that's what he's trying to do.
Thanks, Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's update things. Another birdie for Patrick Reed. Now he has stretched it to 8 under par, so he birdies 13 to get to 8 under. He's also gotten birdie today at number 4. And so he has now taken the lead to a couple of shots. Let's see, go back to my main leaderboard here.
2 shots.
Yeah, I've got a couple of shot lead on 3 shots. 3 shots over Mark Leishman now.
Yes.
3 shots on Leishman. As he comes down the stretch, he's playing 14. Leishman's on 15. McElroy sits at -4. Spieth at -4. And then there's Dustin Johnson at 3 and Stinson at 3. So way things are kind of shaping up. If this holds to form like it is now, we should have McElroy and Spieth paired tomorrow. That'd be fun to watch.
So somebody in this room had Rory McIlroy possibly as a contender for this weekend. I don't remember who that was.
I don't either.
This over here.
Who's that? Brian? Did Brian have?
On the south side of this room over here?
My pick's gone about as well as my pick to win the NCAA championships so far. But you know what? There's still golf to be played. And if Tiger can just make it to the weekend, I'm like the TV execs. If Tiger can just make it to the weekend, we'll be happy.
It's not necessarily going to be in a prominent spot. I mean, he's picked up a couple of strokes here, and he's putting for birdie on 16. But in my mind, Tiger there, I get it. It gives you a little bit more juice on the weekend, but it's not like he's going to be in a prime in a prime TV slot.
Well, he just picked up another birdie to get to 3. But now he's facing a long comeback putt for par. He just tried to roll in another birdie. It looked like he was just barely off the green. But he is at +3, which gives him a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to the cuts.
It does. And that's the thing. The cut line is obviously going to give him a little bit more wiggle room. But at the same time, the thing, it's not enough for him to just be there. He needs to be lurking or in the mix. Like if he had a score of, say, even par or even under par, somewhere around those lines, that gives you not only the ability to make your own move, but also it allows the others to kind of come back to earth, because I don't think 9 under wins this tournament, especially with the nature of how I think the weekend will go, with them possibly having to deal with a rain shortened third round. They're having to maybe even play 36 on Sunday. There's going to be some attrition, and we even saw it earlier in the day today. So in my mind, if you're able to at least get yourself on the red side of even par, then you got a chance.
Well, keep in mind, if it rains and rains heavily, when they go back on the course, let's say it's Sunday, greens are going to be pretty soft and receptive.
Right.
So that's going to change everything. If these guys, it doesn't matter if it's Augusta National or Baltusrol or wherever, you give them soft, receptive greens, and they can fly it right out the pin. They're going to knock the scores down.
But on the other side of that, it also takes away the rolling ability when you're in the fairway. I mean, you that's a lot of things too, where Augusta's got a lot of those rolling hills. It's far from a flat course, so a lot of times you kind of get a benefit of the doubt of that extra roll. That could mean an extra 10 to 20 yards on your drive, or even some of the approach shots on the long par fives. You will not get that with soft fairways.
All right, so we're keeping an eye on things there. Don will join us here in a few minutes for his take from Augusta. George Bryan will be here as well. Monty Dutton with the full Monty on NASCAR. They are into qualifying. They're into round number 2 in Texas, and it's Kurt Busch was the fastest to get to the second round of qualifying. Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, Clint Bowyer, Ryan Blaney, and Denny Hamlin, your top 5 going into the second round there. As far as anything else going on, it's been a pretty quiet day.
It's very quiet.
Haven't heard of any major departures or rivals or anything like that, and Tiger just bogeyed.
Oh, he missed that one.
Just bogeyed coming back.
Never went the way he wanted it to go. Coastal Carolina right now playing in not only their opening game against South Alabama, but they have their spring game, which kind of culminates the return to the sidelines for head coach Joe Moglia. And I think that's, if anything, a big sigh of relief for Chanticleers fans, because as they continue to try and acclimate themselves to this Sun Belt Conference and FBS play, it's certainly a real welcome back for him, because of the fact that I think while Jamie Chadwell did an admirable job filling in and kind of making sure that the thing didn't completely fall off, I think it was far from the season that many fans of the program in Conway expected to have.
Well, keep in mind now, I mean, the program was dumped in his lap very late.
Right.
And you're right. He did an admirable job of picking that thing up. And they didn't win many games. They weren't projected to win many games, surprisingly. Remember, well, you might not. Yeah, you were here. I scoffed at the preseason predictions that had them down at the bottom of the Sun Belt, and they proved to be correct.
The Chants down, by the way, 8-0 to South Alabama. That game is only in the 4th.
Mark Calvey, South Alabama. How about that? Okay,
crazy.
We'll be right back. As late afternoon rolls through Augusta, the shadows are getting longer. The pressure starts to climb as we get closer to the end of round 2 and find out who makes it into the weekend. Let's welcome in once again the master of all masters reporters from Augusta National. Here in round 2 is Don Williams, mumbling to somebody in the background.
Philip, did you write that intro yourself?
Yes, several years ago. I've used it, for many, many years now.
Yeah. You have to know that
man.
many of Phil's jokes are older than dirt. So
that wasn't a joke. That was homage.
Much of his material.
I was paying homage to a great man and a great voice. Hey, somebody just went in the water. Who was that, Bubba? Yeah, yes. Bubba just put in the drink. So what's your take on today? What caught your eye?
I think today was one of the strangest days for a relatively benign weather day, Phil, that I've seen in 37 years because the volatility of the leaderboard with a few people playing great. And those that have largely been out of the afternoon groups. That just rarely happens. Usually you get your better scores in the morning. And on both days of this tournament so far, the better scores have come this afternoon. It started early with Jordan Spieth picking up a double bogey and losing his lead on the first hole. Ended up shooting 74 for the day, even though he's in third place. He didn't shoot himself out of the tournament. But then Phil Mickelson made an early birdie, and he was actually tied for the lead when the day was over. He shot 79. He's 5 over, and he's going to make the cut on the number. It was that kind of day all day long until Patrick Reed began with 3 consecutive birdies this afternoon and has continued to play steady, if unremarkable, but clearly a fine round of golf, and sits top of the leaderboard right now. But at one point, I think it was around noon or 1 o'clock, in other words, when you woke up today,
yes,
there was a 9-way tie for the lead. A 9-way tie for the lead at 3 under par. That's just crazy.
Well,
it's been a very, very odd day.
Yeah, I grabbed my phone. I looked over. I saw that 9-way tie for the lead, realized there was really nothing to get up for, and went back to bed.
What do you attribute all that volatility to? Is there a common thread, or is it just different guys spiraling out of control?
I think that, what we'll get to here is you've got a great leaderboard, except for the fact that you don't have Phil or Tiger. But you've got 10 of the top 30 players in the world, according to the official World Golf Ranking, among the top 15. So your top 15 players, 10 of them are great players. So once you get past what's happened and lament the fact that Phil and Tiger are afterthoughts, you got a bunch of guys that are really, really good. But none of them are playing at their best yet. Patrick Reed is one of those 10 that's in the top 30, and he's playing awfully well. And I wonder if he can be caught, because he's a great front runner. Spieth and McIlroy and Stenson and Thomas and Bubba and Dustin, who had a great round today, all of them have been, with the exception of Justin Thomas, they've all been struggling a little bit for the last, by their standards anyway, for the last 6 to 9 months.
Reed just put in another birdie at 14, so he's gotten it to 9 under. He's still 2 shots ahead of Mark Leishman. On the other end of the scoreboard, you've got Sergio, who he's still got a couple of holes left, but he stands to be the highest scoring professional after 2 rounds. Can you ever recall one year a champion, last year dead last among the pros?
You'd have to go back and research that. It's highly unlikely, but how many defending champions make 13 on a hole?
Yeah, that's right.
So, that's attributable to one hole. It's not like he just had a dreadful tournament. He didn't have a very good tournament. You take that 13 away, and he'd certainly love for you to do that. That would mean he would be at 7 over par instead of 15 over, and he still would miss the cut. So certainly not a spirited defense of the title by Sergio. But really, Phil's 79. Guys, he shot 7 over on the last 10 holes. And it was not that hard a day. It's just mind-boggling. And he's playing well. Mind-boggling to me.
Don, I have to ask you about the elephant in the room. What, if anything, have you heard about the weather, and what plans the folks at Augusta, contingency plans they might be making for anything that will happen this weekend if it has to be shortened or possibly pushed back?
Well, they can play with a 50. It looks like it's going to be 53 players right now making the cut. They can play 36 holes on Sunday if they have to. They don't want to, but they can. I think based on what the weather forecast is saying right now, they can get maybe 3 or 4 hours in tomorrow. And we could also be surprised. Weathermen have been wrong before.
Yes, they have.
Yes, but based on what I'm seeing, I think it's going to be tough to play a whole lot afternoon just because the amount of rain that's going to fall without thunderstorms is going to cause puddling to occur. Plus, there's going to be high winds, which would cause the ball to oscillate, and that's assuming there's no thunder, and there's likely to be some thunder. I think they might be able to play in rain and they may move the tee times up to accommodate that. Haven't heard yet, but they could probably play from maybe 8 till noon.
Maybe some double tee action, maybe put guys 3 per group. Any talk of that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility. We'll know all that probably about an hour and a half after the last putt falls tonight. They'll make that decision. Unfortunately, they didn't ask me to, sit in with them while they decide that.
Well, they should have.
They should.
Tiger hasn't done anything really magical, a couple of birdie putts here and there. But if he hangs in there and he makes the cut, maybe we play tomorrow, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. But can you see anything from him to give you reason to believe he might make some kind of a run up the leaderboard?
5 over is going to be the cut line. That's where Phil is. Tiger is. The lead is 9 right this minute, right?
Lead is 9, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just did that quickly in my head. I want you to know that. The word in an answer is no.
Not even. I'm not suggesting he's going to catch everybody and win the thing, but at least getting the money a little bit better.
Phil, I think that he has a chance. There's 53 players making the cut. He has a chance to finish in the top 35.
Yeah. That's very encouraging. That's highly encouraging.
Don doesn't sugarcoat things, man. That's what he does.
Phil, I'm trying to dignify a relatively lame question with a kind of an interesting response.
Thank you. What do you think of Dustin Johnson's comeback today with a 68, 3 under for the tournament?
That was the best round of the day until late this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go back to 2 o'clock. There were no good rounds. His 68 was one of 2, I think, that were really good rounds. And then all of a sudden they started popping up this afternoon from these last guys that are out on the golf course. So, no, that was great. And somebody asked me earlier, if you took these 10 guys and they all played their absolute best this weekend, they were clicking on every cylinder, who would win? I said Dustin Johnson because he's the best player in the game, maybe by far, when he has everything clicking. But unfortunately, most golfers don't have everything clicking very often.
You think this could come down to a dark horse, someone like Adam Hadwin, someone of that nature?
I'm going with Bernhard. Bernhard's at 4 over. Got a chance.
Philip, I want you to know he made a 9-foot birdie putt on 18 to guarantee that he made the cut. I think that's pretty strong.
Does he know that you stalk him at every Masters?
I did see some security guards out today. I was wondering about that.
I love that he calls you Philip also, by the way.
That's a personal thing.
Well, I probably knows you hate it.
Marisa does too. Yeah. By the way, 3 seniors, Vijay Singh, Fred Couples, Bernhard Longer, made the cut. So that's pretty impressive.
It is. Don, thank you, my man. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend in Augusta. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Have a good show.
Thank you. The godfather of Sports Talk, the master of all Masters reporters, Don Williams, with us here on Sports Talk.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic from downtown Columbia with Brian Leonard. Professor Tom Hayes already off on his weekend adventure. Patrick Reed at -9. He's on 15. Mark Leishman is -7. He's on 17. That's the top of the leaderboard. Now a three-way tie at -4. McElroy and Spieth in the clubhouse, and Stinson is on number 15, and the cut line remains at +5.
I don't want to be a Billy Downer here, but I'm sure people at CBS are looking at the top of that leaderboard and saying Patrick Reed and Mark Leishman, that's not quite what we had in mind.
Well, the next pair going out tomorrow will be quite entertaining. But you know what? Golf is golf. The Masters is the Masters.
It's very fickle.
And people will tune in. There'll be a bunch more people tuning in, say if a Tiger or a Phil were at the top, but there'll be people watching. USC Kentucky underway in Lexington, scoreless, but Kentucky's got second and third in the bottom of the first against Adam Hill. There are 2 away. Clemson just wrapped up another day of spring football a little while ago, and the coaches just met with the media. Mr. Happy, Brent Venables, in the house to talk about how things went on his side of the football field in practice today.
Got a lot of work to do, got to build depth, and, long time before we play. So got a lot of work to do.
A lot of the players that we've talked to have said that they've taken your message from last week personally.
Good, they should. They watched the tape too. It's good.
I mean, is that more of a leadership thing? Do they
just play thing. It's just a play thing, just a play thing. Just playing okay.
How do you think they responded and rebounded in the half scrimmage?
I don't know. Okay. You go through a practice and you practice 120, 130 plays. There's some good, there's some bad. And so, okay. I don't really okay, now where are we at? I don't look at it I'm like, okay, here's where we were yesterday. Now where are we at? I don't look at it like that. That's not, I don't, I still remember the other day. So, but we're all right. It's been pretty good. Not great, but it's been pretty good.
What do you see him improve from?
Oh, everything. Just everything. Just be better at it all. And just be consistent, be physical, be great in coverage. Don't get PIs. Don't let them behind you. Get the call. Play with good technique. All of it. Sometimes he does it really well. Oh, they all have flashed. They've all had their opportunities where they flashed and looked good. They're all good kids, and they work hard and coachable. And then we're still installing. So they've had their plenty of moments of swimming, and just the natural progression of the growth and the maturation. It's happening.
We all got a chance to check out the W drill the other day, and I mean, we all saw some of those guys, like a guy like Josh Belt walk in there and really stand his own against somebody. To talk about a guy that young come in, that's that young with that much raw talent, what it takes to develop that.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're all talented, both sides. They're going against guys that are talented too. So it's been push and shove. They've looked good sometimes, and on the other side of the ball, they've looked good sometimes. That's what happens when good players, play against good players. There's give and take, and it's been fun to see those guys come in and jump right in and be fearless about their opportunity. And again, the failure that's happened and along the way is part of the growth. That's part of that growth process. So, but had good attitudes and fighting through the tough days and the tough moments, and so it's been good.
Who stood out the most behind?
Stood out the most, like the next guy, probably Chris Register. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
The next guy? Probably Register. He's been the most consistent.
These coaches slay me, man. Like, it's April the freaking 6th, okay? Like, you're not going out to play Furman tomorrow, okay? Like, relax. Dabo, you would have sounded, you've listened to these coaches, you make it sound like, oh man, we're never going to get there. Oh, we're so far away, we're never going to get there. It's April the freaking 6th.
They set the tone in the spring for the way things will be in the fall. And Venables is just that kind of guy. It doesn't matter to him if it's the middle of October and they're getting ready for Florida State, or
Venables wouldn't be happy. They wouldn't be happy if they gave up negative.
He's a serious dude. He takes his work seriously. He approaches it that way, and he wants perfection in an area where perfection is hard to reach, but he wants and strives for perfection.
Since I've been here, I've seen him happy once, and that was after the South Carolina game, because that was a game that they put a lot of energy and just mental capacity into. That's the only time I've ever seen that guy smile.
USC got out of that bit of trouble in the bottom of the first, so they are scoreless, USC and Kentucky, as they go to the top of the second in Lexington. Update some other baseball for you coming up. Let's do recruiting here on this Friday night to give you something to be happy about going into the weekend, right? You got to have a reason to be happy and smile. It's recruiting, the gift that keeps on giving. Clemson going hard after offensive lineman Harry Miller, 6'4", 315, Buford, Georgia. He can play all three spots. I think Clemson might like him as a center. A lot of schools like him as a center. He says he loves the Clemson coaches, been there several times, talks a lot with Robbie Caldwell, Tony Elliott. Ohio State is showing a lot of interest and always are in contact. Stanford was a big offer for him, and the distance is not something he's too worried about there. Notre Dame is another school he's very interested in. Georgia is also on his short list. He plans to visit Stanford in a couple of weeks, then Ohio State the following week, returning to Clemson on May 19th. He's committed to playing the Under Armour game. Ryan Helinski's top receiver at Orange, California Lutheran, Kyle Ford, 6'3", 210, of course, picked up an offer from USC the other day. He tells us he likes South Carolina. Looking forward to getting to know the coaches better, like McClendon, who he's been talking to. He said they like him because he's a physical receiver. As he puts it, I play physical without whining. And, of course, Helinski's in his ear trying to get him to joining him in Columbia, but he says Ford does that his family will not be moving to Columbia if he decides to follow suit. They like it in Cali, as he put it. But the Gamecocks are legitimate possibilities. He's interested. He's got Michigan, Southern Cal, UCLA, Washington. He's been to. He's going to Oregon for the spring game. 91 catches, 1,468 yards, and 13 touchdowns last season. He's also a baseball player and would like to play that sport in college as well. Clemson offered tight end Isaiah Foskey, 6'5", 235 of Concord, California. He was at Clemson on Wednesday. He's also been to Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, and Penn State. Clemson in the top 5 with defensive lineman DJ Dale of Pinson, Alabama, with Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Florida State. Clemson offered 2020 offensive lineman Mitchell Mays of Raleigh. USC target defensive end Rashad Cheney, committed to Alabama. He was once committed to Georgia. Basketball, upstate grad transfer point guard Mike Cunningham taking an official to Tulane this weekend. He tells us he's going to Oklahoma April 19th and Louisville April 25th. USC's in the top 10 with 6'3", Courtney Ramey of St. Louis. Why do some people spell St. Louis S-A-I-N-T and not S-T period?
I don't know.
Are both acceptable?
Usually the S-A-I-N-T is more acceptable when talking about St. Louis University. That's usually kind of the way that is. But I don't know why. I don't know why you're seeing more S-A-I-N-T versus S-T period.
On his Instagram account, Ramey also listed Illinois, Oregon, SMU, Oklahoma State, Texas, Minnesota, Louisville, Missouri, and Ohio State.
You love your lists
as his favorites. Well, I mean, those are the ones involved.
You love your list.
And USC and Clemson are showing interest in former Oklahoma backup point guard Jordan Shepard. He's heard from Georgia Tech, USC, Clemson, Wake Forest, and some others. And we'll be back.